Looking for some new podcasts to listen to? Well, Rat Salad Review Network has plenty of shows to choose from. Like Rat Salad Review, where they discuss the latest rock and metal news, as well as interviews and albums. Album vs. Album, the King Diamond Podcast, with Wayne Noon, Greg Noggle, and sometimes this guy.
Smack 'em a gob!
Ralph Vieira is also on our network with the Vieira Vault. There's also Old Man Metal's Musings, where he discusses heavy metal and beer. Music is Life with Lou Mavs. The Right Opinion for those who love politics. A South Park podcast called Suck My Balls. The Infinite Fringe, a watch-along wrestling show called Beyond Bushido. Ex-Stradivarius guitarist, the Timo Tolkki podcast. And the Great Harry Barnett with I Don't Even Like Podcasts. So check out ratsaladreview.com or search Rat Salad Review on YouTube, Podbean, iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, and more. Welcome back to This Podcast Belongs to Them. Hello, everybody.
Evening,
Hello.
Renfield. How are you?
Hi, everybody.
Shallow.
How's everybody doing? Yeah. Everybody's doing good?
Hanging in there.
Great. Ralph, everything's back to normal?
No, I'm doing shitty, but let's do this.
All right, let's do this. Let's get on with the show.
Why bore you with my health problems?
That's right. It doesn't matter. If you
Oh,
want to know
almost
about it,
We got a tub set up that his feet are soaking in right now with some dish soap and a car battery, and we're not sure if it's going to work or not, but we're praying like hell it will.
Well, it's just, I'm trying, but it won't reach the outlet.
All right. Well, this week we're doing Return of the Vampire by Mercyful Fate. It's a
That's
compilation album, and it's a bunch of old songs before their first EP, and even from Melissa and Don't Break the Oath. So it'll be very interesting. Some really cool stuff on here.
I gotta say, in 1987, I bought a bootleg vinyl called Curse of the Pharaohs. I don't know if you guys ever heard of that.
Mm-hmm. I have it.
It's basically that.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, it's basically all those songs. Maybe a song or two missing, but it's basically all those songs with different titles. But
Yeah.
Oh, that's probably why I didn't recognize it.
so I have lived with it a long time. Some of the versions on this Return of the Vampire does sound better, but a lot of the quality on that Curse of the Pharaoh sounds just as good.
Yeah.
So are they different versions of the
Yeah,
same
really.
songs?
They're the same.
They are the same tracks.
Same versions, but a good example is Mission Destroy Aliens. MDA
Yeah.
sounds better on with Curse of the Pharaohs.
Interesting.
Oh, really?
It does. Yeah.
Mission
cooler sound.
Destroy Aliens. Sorry.
I love that.
I
one.
wish she'd break that out on tour.
I walk around all day singing that. After
I used to
tormenting
drive my
my
brother
husband.
nuts with that song. He used to hate when I played that song because the way King sings his voice, and it just he hated it. Got on his nerves.
He was raised wrong.
That's
He
right.
was.
Damn right.
That's right. All right, let's start the album. Burning the Cross. There's actually notes to all this, like what all the songs were about. I'm not even holding this right. It gives King writes like little notes here and there for each song. So on this one, this is the only Mercyful Fate song that B. Peterson ever wrote the music for. He was actually in the band before. I'm losing my mind right now. Not Hank Sherman.
Michael Denner.
Yeah. With its complex structure and heavy riffing, it's a must for a true Mercyful Fate fan. Unfortunately, it never made it onto any album due to B. Peterson's early departure from the band. So I guess apparently he didn't want them to re-record the song, because this song is probably one of my favorite Mercyful Fate songs ever.
I agree. It's a good one.
Well,
it should have been released.
They did use a portion of that song.
They did use a little piece of the song. Right. Yeah. But I wish they would have just used the full song. This would have fit perfectly on Melissa or even on the EP. They could have maybe even took off Devil Eyes or even Nuns Have No Fun and put Burning the Cross on there.
It reminds me of Diamond.
Whoa. I'm a little gassy. I'm sorry.
It's all right. It must be the meds.
Well, this too reminds me of Diamond Head. It seems like some riffs that Tatler would come up with,
Yeah, it does a little bit. That's one thing I've thought about it too. Sounds a lot like them.
And a little Priest, because toward the end when they do that breakdown where it's just guitars, that's kind of like Victim of Changes on Speedballs.
Yes, that's right.
It's like very that's the dual guitar ripping, and I believe Benny Peterson wrote the whole thing, right?
Yeah, apparently,
That's what it says in the liner notes.
Yep. Well, all the music, King wrote the lyrics, but
I think he was even part of some of the early the Mercyful Fate songs that were on the EP, and even Melissa too, wasn't he? Didn't he have a part in that before Michael Denner joined?
I don't think so, but maybe parts, because there's a little bit Devil's Eyes on here, so so probably he did have probably parts of Corpse.
Well, yeah, because he plays on A Corpse Without Soul and Curse of the Pharaohs on this.
Oh, he does. Okay.
Yeah. Track 1 through 6 is all Benny Peterson on guitar. Michael Denner's only on the last 3.
Wow, did not know that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And no relations to Kim Peterson, King Diamond, according to our friend Kim Ruz.
Yeah.
That's right.
Speaking of Kim Ruz,
what's that?
One of the first things I noticed about this is how rudimentary the drumming is on this track and on all these other tracks, where you hear the way he sounded on Melissa. It was just like night and day. It's like I don't know how young he was at the time, but it's like he just knuckled down, we're going to get in the studio for another studio album. He was like, I'm going to be prepared, because it was some of the drumming is a little sketchy on this record. And then you hear Melissa's like, boom, all there. It's all there. So it's kind of cool to hear somebody changing, somebody growing, and just to listen back to where they were before and to where they came. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. Also, though, Kim Ruz is not on every song on this album.
No.
It's also Old Nick and some other drummer that's not even named.
Smith or something. Yeah.
And some other drummer they don't even have. They just have question mark because they apparently don't know.
They were too high.
On the website, it says his name was Jan Musen.
Jan Musen?
Apparently. How Scandinavian of them. But
yeah. So Burning the Cross.
It's neat to hear him take shape, but then also, and you guys may have not listened to these in a while, but Wayne and I did it when we first started doing this, because this was at the in mid '81, right after they kind of changed from the Brats into Mercyful Fate, and it's just amazing that a couple months later they had these all new songs, even though they're not to where they would be. Just how quickly they did things that were so intricate. Right. Although I really do not like listening to Curse of the Pharaohs like this. It's cool to hear where it came from, but it does not sound good. on here.
All right, and we will move on to Curse of the Pharaohs. This version of the song differs quite a bit from the later version that appeared on the Melissa album. Most of the songs is in half beat, and you'll find some riffs here that were later omitted from the album version. Why? Good question. And I also agree with you too, Greg. I don't like the change up of the beat of the song, and even the added middle parts. It's not unneeded to me. I just didn't need it.
It detracts from it. It's too busy with.
Right.
I'm glad they dropped those extra pieces.
I am too. All right, the original regular versions on Melissa is way better.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad that they dropped it because of course, the Melissa version is a definitive version. It's good to hear though. It's so cool to hear these crazy riffs in the middle. It's like, hey, it's kind of like a novelty thing, but it's cool, and I'm glad it was released. You know what I'm saying? So we can hear the genesis of a lot of these songs.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no, I love hearing this, like the beginnings of what end up becoming, on the actual album. It's cool to hear all these extra added parts in there.
Yeah, it's the editing process, really.
Right.
It's the editing process.
Yeah.
It's very cool.
What do you think about Curse of the Pharaohs, Elisa?
Well, I think this version, it's just too long. It's too long. It's meandering. It's unfocused. Again, I think there's some haphazard drumming on it. But it is a piece in time, and it's watching a work take shape. And I'm really glad it exists there too. I'm glad they released it because then you can see the thought process behind things, and you can see how they evolved as musicians too, and as songwriters and as musicians. It's fascinating.
Yep. Return of the Vampire, the heaviest Mercyful Fate riffs ever written, apparently. Yeah. It includes the strangest break shortly before the end. Well, I guess maybe around this time period. I think they got way heavier after this was released. Hank and Kim completely flipped into this little piece of seemingly uncontrolled guitar notes and drum beats, and in some strange way, they managed to stick together. Mercyful Fate must. I like this song, but the drumming for some reason ruins it for me. It is the weirdest drumming to just go along with these riffs. It just does not work.
To me, it makes more sense than Lars.
Yeah.
I like that version
better. It makes
better.
more sense than Lars.
Really?
I like that version. I don't like Lars's drumming on that version, but the song is more put together on that version. We'll get to that.
I like it like this.
This way, it just seems like it's just pieces of songs that, from older songs, and he just put them all together to try and make it work into a song. And to me, it just does not work. I like the idea of the song. The chorus is cool. Return of the Vampire chorus. But this song just doesn't work that well for me.
Well, my favorite part of this song is that bass line when it comes in, just before the verse comes in. And we bass players call it DRNT. DRNT. Dun, 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 dun. I'm like, that is the coolest thing ever.
Yeah.
So I just love this song.
That is a cool part. Yeah.
It could also be RTWD, Running with the Devil.
Oh, yes.
Yes. Yes. That's the Uber Dirt.
That
is the Uber Dirt.
Well, there is talk of another Lucifer Creme EP, and if we do it, I definitely want to do this song because it's something that I can do. I look for Mercyful Fate songs where there's not too many highs. Mm-hmm. And believe it or not, and this is a rarity. I'm going to go with Wayne instead of Greg for once. This is the first time.
Oh, wow. Jeez.
I actually like the In the Shadows version more. I've lived with this one more. I don't know what it is about the In the Shadows version. I think it's a little more refined and a little more put together and a little more tight. But basically all the songs on here are kind of loose and, rough. And I love it. Don't get me wrong. I don't even mind Kim's drumming on here. It's weird, but I still dig it. But yeah, when I heard the In the Shadows version, I was like, damn, that's good. I love that riff, man. Mm-hmm. That riff is so fucking cool. Da-na-na. It's so simple but awesome, Yeah.
Very Iommi. Very Tony Iommi. That
yeah. Good call.
Oh, yeah.
Greg.
I really like it like this, a little bit rawer and looser. I mean, I like the In the Shadows version too, but I like the original tracks better. They're weird, they're chaotic, and it fits well with the riff, I think.
Yeah, I like Kim's drumming more than the Lars version, but I'm just saying as a whole, I kind of dug the In the Shadows version.
As a hole. Sorry.
Yeah, this is the one case, and well, I mean, Burning the Cross there isn't really a finished version of, but that and Return of the Vampire would be my favorite two off of this. But those are the only ones where I like the demo versions better than what became the finished songs.
Speaking of a-hole, let me bring this up. I do on my YouTube channel my favorite albums of so-and-so year. And this one guy goes, I can't remember for the life of me. It was, I think, 1977. He's like, how the fuck can you leave this album off? I go, listen, asshole. Because it's my thing. And he goes, don't call me an asshole. And then I replied, I go, oh, I'm sorry I called you asshole. I thought you already knew that. That was a good comeback, man. Thank you.
My thing with the drumming on it is there's too many hi-hats. It's just it bothers me.
It's like almost 50s in a way. The verse.
It's 50s. It's like a 50s Hammer horror film, and it's dirty and grungy like that,
Yeah, we'll talk about the other version later. On a Night of Full Moon, this song was later recorded in a different version for the second Mercyful Fate album, Don't Break the Oath, under the title Desecration of Souls. This special first version has...
And they're holy.
Yes. The special first... Now you screwed me up. This special first version has a completely different intro, with Hank getting into some serious feedback and me howling like a wolf. You'll find some interesting riffs here. I couldn't figure out what they were. See if you can recognize where they were later used.
Yeah.
I like this version better than Desecration of Souls.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm shocked.
What's wrong with you, man?
This one I like the drumming to. The Desecration of Souls, I don't like the drumming for that one. This one has better drumming. And I just think the song's a little bit more put together here. I don't know why. It just, I don't know, sounds better on this.
Interesting.
And it doesn't come
I think it has good bones. This song has good bones. And it needed to be reworked, desperately needed editing and reworking. It was too long. Frankly, I thought the drumming, it was musical, but it was sloppy in delivery. But yeah, I think it's so much better as Desecration of Souls. But that's just me.
Of course, it's fine.
I feel this is the one that was the most odd out of all the ones that they did, because with the little howling at the moon that King does.
That was, I didn't like that.
It kind of like, it's offsetting to me, and I just feel like, I don't know, man, just the way they tightened it on Don't Break the Oath is just so amazing. But again, I have to stress this a lot. Great to hear the genesis of the tune.
That's it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Greg.
I like it. It's cool to hear it, like they were saying, as a genesis of the song, but it definitely needed to be finished and refined, and I like Desecration of Souls a lot better. But, it's probably their only werewolf song, so that's cool.
You're right.
The other thing before, to take it back to Return of Vampire, the lyrics for that song they're not as put together. I mean, we'll talk about this again later on for the In the Shadows album. But the lyrics, it just sounds like he's making up lyrics as they're doing the song.
Yeah, I can hear it.
It kind of does. I hear what you're saying.
Yeah. Because you can hear it. Yeah, in the Shadows, it's more cut up, not too many words. It's just right there to the point.
Yeah, exactly. A Corpse Without Soul.
Yes.
This was officially released in a different, shorter version than it appears here. This special version was originally meant to last for about 10 minutes. I think 10 minutes would have been way too long. But due to a brilliant fuck-up by the engineer, it appears here an 8-minute version. We had been fighting for over 2 hours to get this thing right, but this time This time, one of the guys in the band made a mistake, and we had to record the song all over again. We were just about to call it a day and leave the studio in total depression when one of us said, "Okay, one last time, and that's it." This last time, there was no mistake, and we all felt great until we entered the control room, where this long-haired freak of a button pusher laid the news on us. "I'm really sorry, folks, but the tape recorder ran out of tape." He lost the entire ending. Later that same year, this guy had to close down the studio. I wonder why.
Those were the days. That doesn't happen anymore.
No.
Nope.
Shit, I would have loved to hear that 10-minute version.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
I feel the same way I feel about the original version. It's one of my least favorite songs.
I love this song. I love, love. Take it is. That later version. Oh my God, so
The
good.
highest note.
That song is
Yes, the
rocks.
EP version. Yes, he gets.
Yeah,
I'm
this
thinking,
version.
I'm thinking of a wrong song. I'm sorry.
The licks.
I like Corpse Without Soul. That's a good song.
It's the licks.
Yes, but he does not get it that high. He doesn't hit that high note that he.
No,
hits
he doesn't hit that high note that he does later. The only thing about this one is that the bass sounds lost in this version. I can't really hear the bass. It's just like guitars up your ass, and so it kind of got lost.
Yeah, and it's not quite as ferocious or aggressive as the EP version is either.
It's a song without bass.
Yeah.
Actually,
I mean, I like
these
it. It's definitely interesting, but it doesn't have a unique quirk. Like On a Night of a Full Moon has the different drumming, which really makes it stand out. But this one just kind of feels inferior. I don't know. I mean, I'd like to hear the whole 10-minute version, but it definitely does not need to be that long.
No, it does not.
I think they get a little bit too into the Deep Purple meandering in their early days here before they learned how to cut some of the bullshit out.
Anybody else?
Sounds like we're all in agreement.
Yeah, I dig it. I dig it a lot. Of course, I'm going to go with the EP version. Mm-hmm. Very special because that's the very first song I ever heard from Mercyful Fate. Yeah. You know, what we were talking about before, like that note is so high that he hits is that if you listen closely, like when he hits the pinnacle, his voice breaks, and when it breaks, it even gets higher with the breakage. Yeah. It's too amazing, just too fucking.
Death Kiss. Here's a very special version of a song that later came to be titled A Dangerous Meeting on the Don't Break the Oath album. This version has completely different lyrics and some very interesting different riffing. Staying at a small and extremely cold little hotel right opposite a huge graveyard in the city of Hull, England, put us right in the atmosphere to record this song. I remember that night when the police came patrolling the sacred place across the street, and we had to hide in between the tombstones. Who was it that got struck by panic and started running, or should I say falling, over the monuments? Hank? Timmy? I don't know. Sounds like a funny story. I wish I would have read this. I would have asked about that when we had
Kim on. Yeah.
Either Kim or Mike.
Yeah.
But Death Kiss, I mean, I've heard this song a few times before I even had this compilation, and I like this song.
They really seem to have a hard-on for this particular demo, I've noticed. They always like to use this as bonus tracks and shit like that.
Mm. It's a cool song. I mean, it's not as good as Dangerous Meeting, what it came to be, but I still like it. You know, I don't like the lyrics as much, but, you know, the music is still there, so it's really pretty much just a Dangerous Meeting with different lyrics.
Well, the riffs are a little bit different on this, and I think that's actually pretty interesting. But
yeah.
There's a section. Yeah, there's a section they just discarded as like this hippie, trippy, Sabbathy kind of very proto-sounding section that they just chopped out of the song. But I think that's again, we're watching the editing process, the songwriting process as they went along.
I like that part though. Reminds me of the first Blue Oyster Cult record.
It just doesn't sound like the Mercyful.
No.
You know, and it's like we're seeing the process of how they became what we know.
Yeah, it's another one of those neat jam moments that sounds cool and it's cool to hear, but it doesn't really serve the song to make it better. Yeah.
Not at all. Ralph?
Yeah, I dig it. Of course, like I said, like all these early versions are so cool to hear, and it sounds pretty good, for, But you can tell, one thing that really did improve on Dangerous Meeting was the vocal melodies.
Mm-hmm.
Because King really honed in on "Don't Break the Echo." Here, it's kind of sporadic and loose and not really good,
Mm-hmm.
But
right. Yeah.
once you hear, if you hear Dangerous Meeting all these years, then you go back to hearing this, it's kind of like, yeah, I can see why they didn't do it that way. But but still, I dig it. I dig all this shit. It's so awesome because I'm such a Fate freak.
Yeah. Leave My Soul Alone. This song is taken from a session at which Hank and I had agreed to help Michael Denner's three-piece band record a demo. It was shortly after this session that the classic Mercyful Fate lineup was completed. The music is written by Michael himself, and I was given about 2.5 hours to come up with the lyrics. The song never made it onto any album. I like this one, because I've never heard it before, and it's not on any other album, and it's a good song. I think it's a really catchy song, and I wish they would have released it on an album, but it's cool, like we keep saying, that they released it on this compilation, because now you can hear it.
Yeah,
It just doesn't sound... Oh, go ahead.
No, it doesn't sound like Mercyful Fate. It's
No,
It doesn't sound like Fate.
It's so straightforward,
Yeah.
like a rockin' tune, like hard rock, and and I recorded it. I put that on the EP, and I said I want to do something that is not like predictable, So we recorded "Leave My Soul Alone" for that Lucifer Creme EP for that. But obviously I like it if I was to record it. I really do love it, but it does not sound like Mercyful Fate. That's for sure.
No, not at all.
It's nice solo on it.
Yeah,
There's a nice
I
solo
really
on
like the
this
solo. I really like the lyrics too, and the vocals for this. I mean, I know he did it in a short period of time, but it's one of the songs on here where he sounds the most sure of himself with how he sings it.
Definitely. One of my favorite songs, "Mission Destroy Aliens."
Love this song.
The same goes for this song as far as for the above, with the exception that both music and lyrics are written by Michael, but I was given free hands when it came to the vocal melody. This song is basically about a video game. Mission Destroy Aliens.
Galaga. Became Galaga. Oh yeah, my
Space
hands
Invaders. His thumbs are still stuck like this.
It was Galaxian, basically. It was what popped up on the screen when you first played Galaga or Galaxian. As soon as you start playing, then it says "Mission: Destroy Aliens." And you have to bang the button a fucking gazillion times while these things are swirling out. I love that game and I love this song. And I torment my husband. I walk around. We're going out for a walk. Mission Destroy Aliens. I'm taking a shower and I'm hearing Mission Destroy Aliens. Everything I do, I'm cooking. I hear this freaking song in my head. Crack. Song is crack.
I can remember getting this album and just constantly listening to it. And like we were talking earlier, my brother would hear it coming from my bedroom, and I would be singing to it. And he would be like, "What the hell are you listening to? That song is terrible." And I'm like, "No, it's not terrible. It's a good song." King's vocals are a little, they're just starting to get developed on this song, so you can tell he's not fully there yet. But it's just cool. I just like how he sings in that that tone. I don't know, what do you call that tone when he does that with his kind of thing with his voice. Is there a word for that?
It's not quite yarling.
Well, whatever that's called, I like when he does. Yeah. Ralph.
It's awesome. Love how it starts so mellow, but it kind of has that same vibe of "Leave My Soul Alone." I mean, I don't know the timeline of this, but it sounds like right when Mercyful Fate started. They didn't really, it's not. Again, it's another song that doesn't really match the Mercyful Fate, But
right, they had no direction at the time, and that's why they're writing songs about aliens and shit. There's nothing about satanic things or anything in these. That's why they wouldn't fit on those albums, but yeah.
It's an awesome song, and this was definitely on that Curse of the Pharaohs vinyl I had. So I lived there for years, but it was cool to hear this because it's so clean compared to the version that's on the Curse of the Pharaohs vinyl. But yeah, it probably is my favorite of the unreleased tunes on here.
Yeah,
Really?
MDA.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
me too.
And last but not least, another one of
wait a minute. Hang on.
my...
You skipped me, dude.
Oh, I did? Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
All right, anyway.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, when I first got this CD, I had already heard the first few albums and In the Shadows and all that. And I skipped ahead to listen to this one first just because it was so out of place. Mission Destroy Aliens. That's got nothing to do with being evil. Like, what the fuck? And I loved it instantly. But these two songs, Michael had already written with his previous band. And this was the first time they all recorded together, so I think that's why they sound so different, because other than the lyrics and the vocal melody on Leave My Soul Alone, nobody else that ended up being in Mercyful Fate had anything to do with these besides Michael, as far as writing goes.
No.
But yeah, the guitars are cool about this, his vocals are goofy, but I mean, it's awesome, it rocks.
Maybe one day they'll break it out.
I really hope so. That would be amazing.
Last but not least, You Asked For It. This song was later renamed Black Masses and was recorded as the B-side to the Black Funeral single. Here it appears with completely different lyrics and was actually part of the very first demo ever recorded under the name Mercyful Fate. At this point, the band did not have a bass player, so Hank took over. The original master tape was slightly damaged by moisture, therefore the quiet, bad sound quality. We all felt, though, that we'd rather include this very special version despite the quality than cheat the fans of not hearing it at all. Just this once we agreed on quantity over quality. And I'm glad they put it on here as well, because it's another really good song that I never heard before until I got this compilation. And I really like it a lot. And you can also hear the bad quality in the beginning of the song. Then when it gets towards the end, you hear the tape or whatever they did to fix it or whatever, and the sound of it changes. But it's a really good song. And I did ask for it.
I was never a fan of this song. Not even Black Masses.
You weren't? No?
Don't hate it, but it's down there as one of my least favorites. So, to get like a poor version of it doesn't help for me. I mean, this is the only song I can do without, to be honest.
I
like it. I like it because of that. I mean, again, some of the drumming on here, like we were talking about earlier, it just doesn't work with the songs. But the drumming on this one, again, I kind of like, just because it's just like that boom, ba-doom, boom, ba-doom kind of feel that goes along with the music. It just sounds cool. I don't know. Again, it doesn't have anything to do with any of the older Mercyful Fate songs at all. It has nothing to do with anything, but I don't know. It's cool.
It sounds like UFO influenced kind of stuff. Again, kind of Diamond Head, kind of UFO is more like rock and roll, hard rock. It just doesn't really, I don't know. Yeah, it's kind of for me too. It's not one of my favorites. It's not one of the most memorable songs for me.
No, not at all. Yeah.
It's got some good riffs, I mean, I do like the riffs, like for the verses and stuff. But I don't know, as a whole, I never really dug this song.
It's got a good solo. I like the guitar solo too.
Yeah, me too, but I agree with Ralph. Even Black Masses, the finished track, I mean, it's okay, but it's a rare miss for Mercyful Fate.
I like Black Masses, so I guess that's why I like the song.
I don't dislike it. It's just not one of my favorites.
It's okay. I get it. I totally get it. I'll let you all have your opinions. All right?
Thank you, sir.
Thanks.
Thank you.
All right. Well, anything else anybody wants to say about Return of the Vampire?
Yeah, go buy it.
Yes, please go buy it.
Yes.
Actually,
Piece of history.
it is a piece of history. And they're all the Mercyful Fate and King Diamond albums, I think. I don't know when they're going to stop reissuing all the albums, but this is coming out next, in the next batch. This one and In the Beginning is coming out. Which I ordered on vinyl.
I believe on white and blue vinyl, actually.
No, there's like 5 different colors.
Oh,
Cool.
whatever.
Yeah, Yes, there's a lot of colors, and most of them are sold out. But yeah, if you don't have it, go buy it. Very cool compilation.
Taking some cues from Gene Simmons after all, I see.
Yeah. That's right. Got to make the money somehow, right? Especially if you're not going to put out that album that you keep saying you're putting out.
Yeah, but dude, I mean, come on. If they made a condom with King Diamond's face on it, you almost have to buy it just because of the absurdity. It's
very true. All right, well, we will see you guys next time. Sorry, no guests on this episode because I really didn't have anybody to ask. So no guest on this one, but there will be a guest on the next show. So we will see you then. Bye-bye.
What?